Welcome to Fantasy Fanfiction. American Comics. The Foundation's inventory at the beginning shocked the world. Chapter 21. At the same time, everyone felt a strong emotion. It was like extracting something akin to sadness from a mass of incomprehensible divine thoughts. No one spoke. They seemed to have witnessed a tragedy. Both human and angel. In the forest, a Foundation agent who had been prepared long ago was driving a troop transport helicopter. Below the plane, a hood of huge amounts slowly fell. Almost no sound was made. The cover covered Wanyu Angel and the soil beneath it. Then, the helicopter landed and the cover was lifted again. Wanyu Angel, together with the troop transport helicopter, disappeared into the horizon. It took a long time for everyone to recover from the shock. She's definitely Angel. Even though I'm an atheist, I just have this gut feeling. Me too. This is so amazing. I never thought I would see Angel alive in my lifetime. It's so shocking. Who dares to doubt that this Foundation is fake now? Angel was flying into the sky just now. Then, his wings fell off. Maybe this is why she wants to absorb the sound. The more wings she has, the higher she can fly. It feels a bit pitiful. It reminds me of the story of Angel flying towards the sun. His wings were made of wax and melted by the sun. Brother upstairs, when you say that, I suddenly feel like it. Kamar Taj. There was actually a trace of tears flashing in Ancient One's eyes. Because her intelligence exceeds that of ordinary people, she can feel more of Wanyu Angel's emotions. She knew that Wanyu Angel wanted to reach a certain place. She can also feel the purity of Wanyu Angel. Neither good nor evil. It's just a blank piece of paper. She just wanted to fly there. Ancient One raised his white fingers and gently wiped away his tears. She couldn't help but wonder where Angel wanted to go. Asgard. Loki stared at the retreating Foundation plane on the screen, seeming to breathe a sigh of relief. He looked at the comments expressing surprise. Smiling slightly, it is indeed an illusion. If I can't even fly out of the universe, how can I be a god? I'm just a low-level creature. This level can make humans so respectful. If I go to the world of Midgard. While saying this, he subconsciously looked back. Because Odin strictly prohibits anyone from Asgard from going to the world of Midgard. But he remembered that Odin had already entered hibernation. It's a pity, father, you have to miss a good show. Loki maintained his elegant posture, but his heart was ready to move. He even glanced in the direction of Bifrost, where Heimdall was guarding. Ding, congratulations on getting a share value of 70 million. The system's voice prompted. That's a lot. It seems Tony is very popular. Lu Yi was very satisfied. Ding, congratulations on obtaining the abnormal containment object 2295, the heart-stitching bear. Nice. The heart-stitched bear is an anomaly-contained object with a safe item. Its abnormal effect is once someone around is injured. It then looks for any surrounding padding and replaces the injured area with it. For example, a person's hand is broken. The sewing bear will rip off a piece of quilt stuffing and replace the person's hand. The hand will be exactly the same as before, fully functional. The most touching thing about it is that if it can't find stuffing, it will use the cotton in its own body to treat the injured. Compared with the abnormal effect resistance and panacea Lu Yi obtained before, the heart-stitching bear is indeed not very powerful. However, who can not love such a shelter who sacrifices himself for others? Afterwards, Lu Yi spent part of the shared value to draw heroes and items. After many blue items fell, a burst of golden light flashed. Lu Yi's eyes lit up. I've withdrawn my money. Ding, congratulations on getting the legendary figure, Dr. Bright. Lu Yi's expression became complicated. Anyone familiar with the Foundation knows that Dr. Bright is a legend. He has connections with many very famous containers. Moreover, his true identity will definitely surprise people. In short, Dr. Bright is indeed important. However, his character is very naughty, which gives many Foundation agents a headache. No matter what, it's better than nothing. Lu Yi turned his head and looked at the screen. The location of the next anomaly is displayed there. On the light screen, a line of subtitles appeared again. Inventory of abnormal contained objects, 6th place. Nick's brows furrowed deeply. This Foundation really doesn't give people any time to breathe. Abnormal contained object 106 Scary old man. Open black lens bracket project level Keter close black lens bracket. Abnormal containment object 106 looks like an elderly creature, but he can transform into anyone. Close black lens bracket. Normally, he has a highly decayed appearance. Abnormal containment object 106 usually attacks the prey's major organs, muscle tissue, or tendons to incapacitate the prey. Close black lens bracket. Another Keter level, could it be said that it is more terrifying than Wanyu Angel? This description sounds scary. A highly decomposed shape. Specially attacking major organs. Does the prey refer to humans? Is this thing really good? It doesn't feel as good as Wanyu Angel. Shield. Nick's mind started moving again. If it only attacks the prey's organs, it's not very dangerous. Maybe Shield can contain it. Compared with the previous plague doctor who killed people on contact, Wanyu Angel absorbed the screams and made the sound louder. This 106 attack method seems less scary. Kamar Taj. It's Keter level again. Ancient One's expression became serious. She has already guessed that the difference between Keter and Euclid does not refer to the strength of the contained object. High probability refers to the difficulty of containment. Because, as a Keter level Wanyu Angel, the containment difficulty is obviously much higher than that of the plague doctor. However, the difficulty of containment can also represent the strength of a contained object to a certain extent. At least, this 106 is not just as simple as eviscerating people. The tallest city in the world, Tangli. Stephen Strange sat on the ground dejectedly. Next to him stood a tall billboard. It has the face of a boy with an innocent smile printed on it. Strange looked at the content in the light screen and smiled bitterly. He is a doctor with superb medical skills. Since his hands became useless, he has lost everything. Come to the mysterious Kamar Taj with hope. Climb hard to the highest place in the world. But found nothing. Now, if the scary old man comes and takes out his internal organs, he will not resist. Hospital. Tony Stark was lying on the hospital bed with a bandage on his head. Devouring a cheeseburger. So soon, another abnormal containment object appeared. He took another bite of the burger, but it's definitely not as scary as Wanyu Angel. On the light screen, the text continues to change. Abnormal contained object 106 can cause a corrosive effect on objects it touches. Furthermore, there will be a black mucus-like substance wrapping the abnormal containment object 106. This substance is very harmful to living bodies and will produce an effect similar to digestion. In addition, abnormal containment object 106 can pass through solid objects and disappear within them. Enter the space assumed to be the dimensional pocket. Appendix. Abnormal containment object 106 must be evaluated after each containment breach. Due to data expunged, and data expunged incidents. Requires constant monitoring and rapid response mechanisms. Close black lens bracket. All go. He still has a one-dimensional space. This is very scary. He's going to come out of his pocket and dig out people's entrails with his acid-covered hands, is that right? Scary. I got goosebumps. Every containment breach, even the Foundation can't contain him. Yeah, he can pass through solid objects, so there's no way he can be locked up. Asgard. Dimensional pocket. It's nothing more than magic. Loki sneered. Can't this Foundation even contain a single magical creature? I'm really disappointed. Corrosive liquid, dimensional pocket. Ancient One murmured. She realized that 106 was not simple. Ancient One has only seen one creature that can own an extra-dimensional space. That is the Dark Lord, Dormammu. Thinking of this, Ancient One took a deep breath and tried hard to calm down. Hospital. Tony stopped chewing the burger. He imagined the scary old man suddenly running out from under the hospital floor, smiling evilly. Then, he stretched out his hand covered in corrosive liquid and inserted it into Tony's body, melting his internal organs. Due to Wanyu Angel's trauma, Tony suffered from psychological shadow. He unconsciously shrank into the bed. He glanced around. Fortunately, Rhodes wasn't here, otherwise he would have been laughed at. It can't be so unlucky. The abnormal containment objects probably won't invade the same person. Somewhere in the desert, General Ross stared greedily at the words on the light screen. Having an extra-dimensional space, able to corrode the enemy's flesh and blood, what a beautiful creature. Rose's voice began to tremble, and her eyes were full of desire. If I can get his genes, I can create countless elusive soldiers and melt all the enemies into blood. Soon after, a line of text was displayed on the light screen. Abnormal containment object 106 has invaded this world. Close black lens bracket. Then, the text disappears. Instead there was a picture. Suddenly, the audience stared at the light curtain excitedly. Late at night, Central Park in New York. Countless men and women were dancing and drinking beer around the bonfire. Have a great time, not realizing the danger at all. Seeing this scene, Nick's heart immediately beat wildly. He had a bold idea. But at the same time, I was scared of my own boldness. The location where 106 appears is in Central Park. SHIELD's spaceship is very close to here. Judging from the speed at which the Foundation has arrived in the past. This time, it won't be faster than S.H.I.E.L.D. But Nick Fury was scared again. An anomaly that even the Foundation cannot completely contain. Can S.H.I.E.L.D. do it? What are you afraid of? This is a rare opportunity. Nick took a deep breath and threw away the useless thoughts. As the guardian of the Earth, we can't be stepped on all the time. Thinking of this, Nick found Captain America, Steve Rogers, who was practicing boxing. Steve, there is an important task for you now. Are you awake enough now? Nick asked seriously. Steve threw a powerful and heavy straight punch. Send the sandbag flying far. I can't be more awake, Director. He took a deep breath. I have slept for 70 years, and I have slept enough. Very good. Nick nodded. You and Falcon, go on the mission together. Soon after. On the light screen, Steve and Falcon arrived in Central Park. The bonfire has gone out. Falcon saw through the night vision goggles that the ground was covered with a sticky, unknown liquid and exuded a disgusting fishy smell. All the people from before had disappeared, not even a single piece of clothing was left behind. Very strange. Steve looked serious. He walked to a tree. I saw that the tree was corroded into the shape of a huge amount of palm. It was like a hand covered in corrosive mucus was slapped directly on the tree. It seems that what is said on the light curtain is not false at all. The scary old man is very dangerous. Steve set up his shield and entered combat mode. Hey, Steve. Falcon seemed to have noticed something and waved to him. Steve ran over immediately. Seeing Steve coming, Falcon pointed to the ground not far away. I saw two roads made of black mucus split in the middle, going in different directions. On every road, there are two lines of dark footprints without shoes. Steve squatted down with a solemn expression. If I guess correctly, these corrosive mucus and these footprints are all left by that monster. He continued, but why are there two roads? Hey, what does it mean? There are just two of us. You go that way and I go this way. Whoever catches the scary old man gets it. After saying that, Falcon chose the path on the left and ran over. Hey, Falcon, this isn't child's play. Don't do it alone, Steve shouted at him. But Falcon had already run away. Steve sighed helplessly and had no choice but to choose the other way. He carefully avoided the slime on the ground. To prevent yourself from stepping on it. Nick Fury is no fool. He definitely knew that there was no way Falcon and Steve could fight against dangerous containment objects alone. Therefore, he has already dispatched many heavily armed agents to quietly follow Steve and Falcon. The agents also carried large iron boxes made by vibranium. Nick Fury believes that no matter how powerful the acid in this scary old man is, it cannot melt such hard metal. In this way, agents can provide help when Steve and Falcon encounter a scary old man but are unable to fight him. Nick prides himself on his wit. The reason why the agent is not allowed to go directly is when S.H.I.E.L.D. takes in the scary old man, Nick can announce it. We contained the anomaly with only 2 people, but the entire Foundation had to mobilize. In this way, S.H.I.E.L.D. has completely regained its face. Kamar Taj. Ancient One looked at the light screen worriedly. Nick Fury, what are you thinking about? She takes this containment very seriously. One is because of the previous shelters, whether they were Shy Man, Plague Doctor, Wanyu Angel or Little Peanut. Their strength is based on physical destructiveness. The scary old man has a different dimension. The ability of the space system is second only to the ability of the time system. Moreover, the light curtain did not introduce what was in this space. But, Ancient One is sure. It was very scary in there. Hospital. Stark wiped the cheese from the corner of his mouth. Fortunately, that thing didn't appear in this hospital. Let me just say, people can't be unlucky all the time. He saw Steve and narrowed his eyes. Isn't this man? The frozen old man in his 70s. Why did Nick Fury send him out? He doesn't think that these two living treasures can fight against abnormal containment objects, right? At the moment, Nick Fury was nervously watching the actions of Steve and Falcon. He didn't know which one of them would meet the scary old man first. But what is certain is that with the secret protection of the agents, at least their lives will not be in danger. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents at the moment were quietly following Steve and Falcon in the distance. It's a silent night, pitch black, and the ground is covered in dangerous slimy liquid. An extremely dangerous contained object is hiding somewhere. The agents breathed carefully and observed the surrounding environment with concentration. At the moment, an agent walking at the end accidentally stepped on the liquid on the ground. His anti-corrosive shoes immediately began to melt. He cursed hard in his mind. At the same time, he quickly took off his shoes. Next moment, he suddenly felt it. Something is approaching behind you. Suddenly, cold sweat broke out on his neck. The hairs all over his body exploded. But, there was no time to turn around. He felt a pair of huge and skinny hands piercing his flesh and blood like a cake. And, there was no stopping. He felt the hands pass through his ribs and grasp his lungs. The agent opened his mouth in despair and tried to scream. However, his lungs were filled with corrosive and dirty liquid. An oily burning sensation spread throughout his body. The ground beneath his feet began to soften. The whole person sank in quickly. In an instant, it disappeared. It's like being submerged in the sea, silently. Under the light curtain, his hand went right in. Oh my God. Oh my God, this looks so painful. That agent's eyes are about to pop out. Wow, this agent must be in pain. But he can't make any sound. Just like the captives of Wanu Angel. I feel like this scary old man is very smart. He first lured those two people away and then secretly killed these agents. I don't know which one is better, the scary old man or the shy man, but which one is scarier, it's obvious. This is completely the massacre of prey by hunters. Nick Fury's lips trembled and his eyes widened in disbelief. Why? He quickly grabbed the walkie-talkie and yelled, "Danger! 106 is near you. Be alert immediately." The agents immediately formed a circle and guarded the surrounding area. However, the scary old man appeared directly from under their feet. The hands filled with corrosive mucus dragged each agent into the ground. The agents immediately shot. But the entrance to the different dimension has been closed, and all the bullets hit the ground. Just go to a few agents quickly. The scary old man suddenly appeared above the ground. The agents finally saw his face clearly. Huge amounts of skulls, with rotten, twisted features covered in slime. Incoordinatedly slender limbs, huge amounts of palms. Before the agents could shoot, the scary old man shook out the mucus on his body. The dark evil liquid was instantly poured on the agents' faces and clothes. Suddenly, screams broke out. Their faces were instantly corroded, leaving only a big hole. The slime dripped onto the ground and continued to corrode downwards. The few remaining survivors were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. The scary old man walked over slowly. The agent fired the bullet, and the scary old man got into the ground to avoid it. Then he appeared from behind, inserted his hands into his flesh and internal organs, and dragged him underground. One after another. Soon, there was only one survivor left. The scary old man slowly turned his head towards him. The agent trembled all over and dropped the gun. He ran desperately towards the vibranium prison. Open the door and slam it shut. Hopefully this cage will protect him. Then he fell to his knees in despair and began to pray. He heard the heavy footsteps of the scary old man getting closer and closer. The sound of mucus dripping on the ground became increasingly clear. He began to pray louder, trying to drown out the sounds. However, the footsteps were already close at hand. The agent prayed even more desperately. On the vibranium wall, the shape of a huge amount of palms soon appeared. Then, it starts to melt. Black slime mixed with molten metal liquid flowed downwards. A huge amount of skinny hand reached out. Then, the entire body of the scary old man passed through, as if passing through a sticky metal waterfall. In despair, the agent began to laugh miserably. The scary old man stretched out his hand and inserted it into his ribs. Then he grabbed his spine. Then the ground softened. The agent and the scary old man were trapped together. Falcon was stunned for a moment when he heard the screams and gunshots. Then, he realized that something happened over there. But there was no fear on his face. "Steve, you can always surpass me in anything, but this time, I will definitely catch the scary old man before you do," he thought to himself. Then he spread his wings. "Fly that way." His walkie-talkie rang. "Nick Fury, Falcon, Steve, retreat quickly. The scary old man is more dangerous than expected, and the agent team has been wiped out." "Falcon, Director, what are you talking about? The signal is not good, hello." He hung up the phone. "Nick, retreat, that's an order. Hello." Steve's heart skipped a beat when he heard Nick's words. He realized that the situation was far beyond his expectations. He knew the strength of the SHIELD agent. Such a powerful team was completely wiped out in such a short period of time. It shows that this abnormal containment object is extremely dangerous. Even though he was a warrior, that didn't mean he was going to die. But he saw the Falcon in the air flying desperately towards the accident site. Steve knew immediately what he was going to do. He, who attaches great importance to language civilization, couldn't help but curse. For the safety of his comrades, he quickly ran that way. Falcon saw the scary old man. The scary old man also raised his head and looked at Falcon in the sky. Seeing the rotten face of the scary old man, Falcon couldn't help but swallow. But he didn't back down and pulled out his gun, targeting the scary old man. "Hey, ugly thing," Falcon yelled at him, "fly up and catch me if you dare." Falcon then opened fire. The scary old man quickly fell to the ground, dodging the dense bullets. Every time the scary old man shows up, Falcon shoots at him. For a moment, the scary old man seemed to have no way to deal with him. Falcon suddenly became more confident. Who said I'm not worthy of being Captain America? Just go ahead and capture him, old man." Suddenly, the scary old man appears from another angle. He threw his hands covered with mucus in the sky. Large swaths of slime rained down on the Falcon in the air. Falcon secretly thought that something was wrong and immediately wrapped his body with his wings, resisting the attack of mucus. Falcon's wings were immediately corroded and he was instantly paralyzed. He fell straight from the air and hit the ground with a bang. The slime was still corroding Falcon's wings and had seeped into his clothes. Falcon suddenly screamed. He desperately took off his wings. But the mucus had corroded his arms and chest. It was drilling into his skin and blood. Immediately, a light red mist transformed from blood emerged from the wound. Falcon screamed in pain. He was completely different from his previous heroic spirit. "Steve, come and save me. Steve, help." Falcon twisted in pain. Tears and snot poured out freely. He struggled desperately, trying to get away from the scary old man who was slowly approaching. However, he could only watch the scary old man getting closer and closer. He looked at the terrifying old man so close, with despair in his eyes. His body was stiff with fear. At the moment, he actually had an illusion. The scary old man seems to be smiling, as if laughing at this stupid prey. Then, he looked at the scary old man and raised his hands covered in mucus. "Shoot him quickly." At this moment, Falcon thought that his life was over. But, just a proper sound. A tall and strong man, holding a shield, blocked the fatal blow. "Steve, don't be afraid, I'm here to save you." Under the light curtain. "Wow, isn't this Captain America? So handsome. It was so timely, I really thought that person was going to die. This man with wings is so stupid. So many agents are dead, why is he joining in the fun? Can Captain America beat him? It should be possible. His shield is very strong and not afraid of corrosion. Shield." Nick's heart was beating hard. When the scary old man's claws came down just now, his face turned pale with fright. Fortunately, Steve rescued Falcon in time. However, Nick Fury still panics. Can Steve beat the scary old man? Don't let anything happen, Steve. Nick Fury can't do anything right now. All I had to do was kneel on the ground and pray. Asgard. Interesting, finally an interesting containment object has arrived. Loki smiled slightly. Slowly torture the prey and let it fully experience the fear of death. If he appeared in Asgard, even Thor would be shocked. Thinking of this, Loki glanced at Bifrost again. His inner thoughts became even more determined. Tisk! Steve looked on in surprise. The scary old man pressed his shield in like a pancake. The corrosive slime flows down along with the molten metal liquid. The shield that had blocked countless artillery fire and bullets was actually so vulnerable in front of the terrifying old man. Steve had no choice but to remove his shield and immediately jumped back. The scary old man glanced at the shield stuck to his hand. Throw it out. Steve got into a fighting stance. Big beads of sweat fell from his forehead. He understood that as long as the scary old man touched him, he would die. But he couldn't retreat. Otherwise, Falcon can only die a painful death. Seeing the scary old man walking slowly, Steve shouted and kicked his leg. But the scary old man seemed to be fine and didn't stagger at all. And, ignoring Steve, he walked straight towards Falcon. Steve still wanted to stop him. The scary old man grabbed his arm and threw him out. Steve hit the tree hard and spit out blood. At the moment, Falcon was dying as the mucus corroded his internal organs. He was now extremely weak, and the burning pain tortured every cell in his body. He no longer had the strength to scream anymore. He watched helplessly as the scary old man's big hand stretched out, inserted into his own body. Then the ground softened. The old man fell in with him. Steve endured the severe pain and got up. He quickly took off the clothes that had come into contact with the slime. His skin had been burned, but luckily, there was no further damage. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He saw the ground where Falcon and the scary old man had just disappeared. A dark, black hole-like thing stayed there. Presumably, this is the portal leading to the mysterious space of the scary old man. For some reason, there is no closure. Looking at the portal, Steve took a deep breath. His eyes were extremely determined. He looked at the half-corroded shield on the ground. He picked it up, walked towards the portal. Falcon may be stupid, or he may be self-inflicted. However, Steve's personality and the spirit he gained from the war decades ago would never allow him to abandon his comrades. Maybe he is stupid, maybe he is stubborn. But, he is Steve Rogers. Decades ago, he watched Bucky fall into the abyss. This became the pain of his life. He would never allow such a tragedy to happen again. Steve took a deep breath, resolutely jumped into the portal. Suddenly, darkness overwhelmed him. Steve sank into the ground. He was constantly falling in the darkness. It seems to have come a long way. Eventually, he fell to the ground uninjured. There was no impact as expected. It was as if the damage caused by gravity had been forcibly erased. Oh my god, he really jumped. Is it necessary? His shield can't stop the corrosion, so why don't he die? Is the man with wings dead? Is it still necessary to save him? You don't know him. If he just ran away, he wouldn't be Steve. What is there to understand about this behavior? Shield. Nick Fury tries to communicate with Steve. But Steve had already entered the space and the signal was cut off. However, Nick understands. No matter what, Steve wasn't going to run away alone. Nick squatted on the ground weakly, covering his face with his hands. A deep feeling of guilt came over me. His recklessness resulted in the death of an elite team. Moreover, Falcon is most likely dead. Steve's life hangs on a thread. It's all because of his arrogance and stupidity. Asgard. Loki rubbed his chin. Interesting, the monkey is not afraid of death for his comrades. Should I say, is this bravery or stupidity? However, if Thor encountered this situation, he would do the same thing. It seems that this is stupidity. Hospital. Tony stared at the light screen intently. This old guy is really unexpected. Although courage is commendable, this is just sending death. I bet he'll turn into a puddle in the creepy old man's wonderful house. Steve stood up. He looked around. This place seems like a nightmare made of black mist. A strange light, like the glistening green light in the deep sea, came from a distance. He could barely see the surrounding scene. Everything. Dilapidated houses, rotten floors, and weird murals. Low ceiling. Everything looked so dirty and shabby. That light made Steve feel something. The scary old man is over there. So he set up his shield and walked that way. The further they walked, the stronger Steve felt. I've been here before. This made him very uneasy. So he quickened his pace. Soon, he entered a long and narrow corridor. The floor was pitted and the ceiling was dilapidated. He walked on for a long distance. Suddenly, Steve saw something. It was a worn-out black and white photo. The frame is broken and the photo is half-etched. However, Steve clearly recognized it. The person in the photo is none other than Peggy Carter. Steve's lover. The one he owed a dance to. Steve's hands shook. Staring at the photo in disbelief. How is this possible? That monster can't have seen Carter. He picked up the photo. Touching it, he confirmed that this was not an illusion. But, he had no time to think about it. He must rescue Falcon, and all the hostages. He kept walking forward. After a while, a faint wailing was heard. Steve quickened his pace. These wails could come from someone caught here by the scary old man. Suddenly, the corridor ahead began to twist. A woman, head lowered, walked towards Steve. Steve immediately stepped forward. "Hey, how are you?" The woman looked up. Steve's eyes suddenly widened. That person is Peggy Carter. How is this possible? Paige. Steve's voice trembled. Steve. Paige's voice was emotionless and her eyes were empty. She stretched out her hand. "You still owe me, a dance." Suddenly, on the ground, a man with long hair climbed up. Steve shook his head in disbelief. "Bucky." Bucky also reached out his hand. "Steve. You. Are so cruel, throwing me off the cliff and letting me, die." Steve's eyes were red. He looked at Paige and Bucky. He gritted his teeth and showed a determined expression. "Sorry, Paige, Bucky." Then, he rushed over. Use the shield to knock them to the ground one by one. Paige and Bucky screamed. Their skin wrinkled and melted rapidly. In the end, they turned into two pools of rotting flesh on the ground. The reason Steve was sure was that they were not alive. It was because he smelled something rancid. He had smelled this smell countless times 70 years ago. Anger appeared on Steve's face. Nothing could stop him now. He walked forward with firm steps. Soon, he passed the corridor. I saw countless dilapidated houses standing on the ground or floating in the air. There was sticky liquid all over the ground. Steve ran forward quickly. An oily piece of debris made his feet slip and he almost fell to his knees. But Steve didn't stop. His instinct told him so. The scary old man is ahead. After walking for a while, Steve heard Falcon cry. He suddenly became energetic. Falcon is alive. He quickened his pace. Soon, a dark, moss-filled room was reached. The scary old man was standing in the middle of the room. Under his feet was a pool of mucus that reached his knees. The scary old man slowly turned his body towards Steve, his body shaking constantly. The weird crying sound came from the thing in his hand. Steve took a closer look and saw that it was Falcon's torso and head. The limbs are nowhere to be found. Something like barbed threads wrapped around him and penetrated in and out of his body. His head was twisted, and the threads were tearing at his flesh all the time. Falcon's expression was filled with pain, and a twisted ball of thread could be seen from his open mouth. Steve tightened his grip on the shield. He rushed over desperately. To his surprise, the scary old man didn't take any action, just looked at him. Just when Steve was about to attack the scary old man, the scary old man suddenly threw Falcon's broken body at Steve. Steve caught it immediately. Then, the scary old man stretched out his hand. It seemed that he had a terrifying smile. Then, he walked towards Steve with slow steps. Steve glanced at Falcon, although he didn't know why the scary old man threw Falcon over. However, Steve must first ensure his survival. So, instead of attacking the scary old man, he ran towards the entrance. The scary old man chased them leisurely. Suddenly, Steve stumbled. The ground seemed to turn into soft gel, causing him to sink into it. The next moment, Steve fell from the portal. Fell to the ground in the real world. The scary old man also crawled out of the portal. Keep chasing Steve. Steve ran forward as hard as he could. He must send Falcon out. But I don't know why. The scary old man seemed to be moving slowly, but he was getting closer and closer. After a while, it was already close at hand. The scary old man held out his slimy hand. Just grab Steve. Steve immediately used his shield to block. But it was of no use at all. Steve's shield and arms were like butter, melted together by the slime. The intense burning pain made Steve dizzy. He couldn't help but kneel down. The scary old man raised his hand again, grabbing at Steve's head. Report. Bookmark. List. 6. Forum. Settings. Lock. Edit_note. Play_circle. 11%. 026 Is the foundation too strong? It can contain such terrifying monsters. _back_ios_new previous chapter next chapter _forward_ios. At this critical moment, with the roar of the engine, a large vehicle with the Foundation's logo drove over. Ah, why did Captain America escape? Look at the distance. That must be the Foundation's car. Can they really take in the scary old man this time? The cell can't hold him at all. Yes, the light curtain said before that the scary old man escaped. The result will be the same this time. Asgard. Looking at the scary old man getting closer and closer to Steve in the light curtain. Loki shook his head. Courage is meaningless after all. Human beings have limits after all. Looks like monkeys will still be monkeys. Hospital. Stark saw the Foundation's logo. He couldn't help but become extremely interested. The method used by the Foundation to contain one new angel before. It was very unforgettable for Stark. What method will they use to contain this terrifying thing this time? At the moment above the light curtain, the scary old man's big hand was very close to Steve's head. Nick Fury's eyes were also filled with despair. However, the Foundation's vehicle arrived in time. At this critical moment, a buzzing sound. The headlights in front of all the vehicles shined brightly at the scary old man. Suddenly, the scary old man stopped. He began to cover his face with his hands. It seems that he is very disgusted with these lights. Steve gasped and immediately took Falcon's body away from the scary old man. Then, several agents carried some huge amounts of instruments. In front of the instrument are huge amounts of light bulbs. They aimed it at the scary old man. Then, the instrument emitted an extremely dazzling light. In an instant, night turned into day. The scary old man kept retreating and screaming horribly. The agents drove him away like this. Until, he was driven into a huge amount of lead box. Then, the agents closed the door with a bang. Steve said to the agents, "Hey, be careful, this thing can't hold him." The agent captain said to him, "Don't worry, this box is made of lead." The scary old man is very afraid of this thing, and he won't be able to get out for the time being. In this way, the scary old man was successfully taken into custody. The agent captain glanced at Falcon. He took another look at a piece of railroad track covered in black slime on the ground. "What a black track," he said meaningfully. Wow, easily contained again. Isn't the Foundation too strong? It can contain such terrifying monsters. Is it really safe? Didn't the previous information say that the scary old man's containment failed? What if he escapes again? What if he shows up at my house? I don't want to be corrupted. I'm so scared. Quote. I have failed before, but it doesn't mean I will fail this time. Anyway, I have confidence in the Foundation. If it weren't for them, the shite people before would have ruined Niu. Yes, we can only trust the Foundation. Inventory of the top 10 contained objects. This is the fourth one, right? How terrifying will the next one be? I can't even imagine it. Shield. Nick let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Steve is fine. He is now in awe of the Foundation. And, no more thoughts about the containment. These things are simply not something that S.H.I.E.L.D. can touch. Kamar Taj. Ancient One recalls the scene of another dimension. The things there seem to change according to the scary old man's thoughts. From this point of view, it looks very similar to the dark space of Dormammu. What if there are still abnormal contained objects invading this world? Could there be an anomaly as powerful as Dormammu? Even more powerful than Dormammu? In that case, can the Foundation still contain it easily? Caecilius, who was hiding in the training room, had fiery eyes. He also saw the shadow of Dormammu in the one-dimensional space of the scary old man. It seems that, for him, the scary old man can be exploited. Lock him into the mirror space and lure the Ancient One in. Thinking of this, Caecilius smiled sinisterly. Asgard. Not bad, not bad. It's this foundation again. Loki smiled slightly. He stepped out of the invisible space. It seems that I really need to go to the Midgard world to have some fun. I want to bring an anomaly back as my pet. The Foundation, I want to see if you have any ability to stop me. Loki smiled slightly and walked in the direction of Bifrost. But what he didn't notice was Thor was quietly following behind him. A serious look on his face. The light curtain is temporarily closed. Steve looked at Falcon's remains. He wasn't even sure if Falcon was still alive. The only thing that was certain was that he looked in pain. The threads that ran through his body were still tearing at his flesh. The Foundation has taken care of the scary old man. The agent captain saluted Steve. Sorry, Captain. Afterwards, the agents got into the car. Left this place. Steve hugged Falcon and sighed. He sat down weakly. It seems that he still failed to save Falcon. However, looking at Falcon who seemed to be still breathing, he didn't want to give up. Is there really no hope? Captain, why are you so downcast? Suddenly, a clear voice sounded from behind. Steve turned around sharply. He saw a young man with a delicate face walking towards him. Steve immediately became wary. Who are you? The boy looked harmless. But being alone in such a dangerous place and not getting hurt at all. It's hard not to be suspicious. Don't be nervous, Captain. Let me introduce myself, my name is Lu Yi. Lu Yi showed a sunny smile. What I want to say is that your friend is not dead. He just needs a little help. Lu Yi took out a pill from his pocket. At the moment, the engine roared. Shield's plane arrived. Just right. Lu Yi looked at them. I just want to meet the great Nick Fury. Who are you anyway? What do you mean when you say he is not dead? Lu Yi smiled slightly. It doesn't matter who I am. You don't think that you escaped from the scary old man's space, Captain. He was satisfied with killing, so he let you go. He continued, after the scary old man satisfies his desire, he will make toys of the living prey. Just like your friend. So, he is still alive, but in great pain. Can you save him? Steve didn't believe Lu Yi's words. Shield's plane has landed. Paramedics put Falcon on a stretcher and wheeled him back onto the plane. Modern medicine can't save him, Captain. I want to see your director. After that, I will save your comrades. Why should I believe you? What is your purpose? My purpose is not important. I can also tell you a secret, Steve. Bucky is still alive. What? Steve was stunned. The past events appeared in his mind one after another. Impossible, I saw Bucky fall off the cliff with my own eyes. How could he? Lu Yi stretched out his index finger and waved it in front of Steve's eyes. No, Steve. Is what you see necessarily the truth? You might as well think about it. Lu Yi continued, are you really the first test subject of super serum? Did the military really choose you because of your character? Steve froze. Looking at Steve's expression, Lu Yi secretly thought it was funny. The plan went smoothly. Please tell Nick Fury. Lu Yi put his hands in his trouser pockets. I can tell him a lot of secrets he wants to know. About the Foundation, and, the one he hates, the traitor in S.H.I.E.L.D. No need to tell me. Nick Fury walked over with heavy steps. Boy, can you really save Falcon? Definitely, Mr. Director. But I have a condition. What conditions? The Anomaly Containment Foundation is arresting me. Therefore, I need the protection of S.H.I.E.L.D. Lu Yi showed a meaningful smile. Starting again. But this time I did have some free time. Yes, it was basically seamless before. This time I finally took a breath. I'm starting to get scared again. I'm so worried that the containment object will appear downstairs in my house. I wish I could see the containment with my own eyes. The scary old man is so awesome, Sihasha. Upstairs, you're scarier than the anomaly containment object. XP is free, but I still recommend you to see a doctor. S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick, Natasha Romanoff and others all looked at Lu Yi in unison. Lu Yi spread his hands. The appearance of abnormalities is very random. I don't know which one will appear first and when. While speaking, Lu Yi was manipulating the words of the light curtain in his mind. He does not need manual control now, he only needs to communicate with the system in his mind. Natasha Romanoff crossed her arms, and the mountains became even more vast. So, will the contained objects in the back be stronger than the other? Maybe. But I'm sure they will be weirder than the last. Nick sighed secretly. Don't you know even a little bit of information? For example, the possible location. The extent of the damage caused. I'm just an ordinary doctor from the Foundation. How could I know information that even the boss of the Foundation doesn't know? Lu Yi showed a regretful expression. Inventory of abnormal contained objects, 5th place. Open black lens bracket 076 able close black lens bracket. Project level, Keter. Description. Abnormal containment object 076 consists of 2 parts. A rock cube, abnormal containment object 0761. And the humanoid individuals existing within it, abnormal containment object 0762. Abnormal containment object 0761 is 3 meters long, with patterns of unknown civilization carved on the outside and inside. Close black lens bracket. According to radioisotope analysis, the object is 10,000 years old. The cube is locked tightly and the key has not been found yet. Abnormal contained object 0762, nearly 30 years old, olive skin, 1.96 meters tall. There are obscure and mysterious tattoos all over the body. When it is in abnormal containment 0761, it is technically dead. Close black lens bracket. An 8-meter long cube, isn't this a coffin? It's still dead. Is the container this time a vampire? Not a vampire. Could this Abel be the Abel in the Bible? The one killed by Cain? Wow, if that's the case, that would be so exciting. First angel, then Abel. Will there be Jesus and God behind? Shield. Looking at the barrage, Lu Yi smiled slightly and thought to himself, God will be there in the future, but Jesus already has it. At the moment, Natasha Romanoff asked, Keter, what does it stand for? Difficulty of containment. To put it simply, Euclid is easy and Keter is difficult. Lu Yi said unhurriedly. Nick, difficulty. The Foundation didn't seem to have much trouble taking in Wan Yu Angel and the scary old man. Director, this, effortless, is the valuable experience the Foundation has gained with the lives of countless agents and staff. Lu Yi said with a hint of indifference. Nick was silent. Somewhere in the countryside, Jean Grey and Scott walked together. Scott looked very excited. Chin, no kidding, I really want to give you a surprise this time. He pointed to something covered with gray canvas not far away, which was shaped like a car. Look. This is what I gave you. The words have not yet finished. The sky suddenly darkened. Then, a dazzling beam of light blasted to the ground with the colors of the rainbow. Boom. What a coincidence, it happened to hit the gray canvas. Scott's surprise exploded instantly. Several burnt tires popped out, which was very funny. The light beam dispersed, leaving obscure patterns on the ground. Loki looked around. This is the world of Midgard, there is no mistaking it. But you don't seem to be very proficient in using Bifrost, Thor. Yeah, it's the first time after all. Sorry for breaking your, whatever it was. Thor said to Scott and Jean. Then, he strode forward, let's go find the containment, Loki. Scott looked at Thor and Loki walking away. The muscles in his face twitched. He dares to be angry but dare not speak. The moment the light curtain appeared, General Ross asked his men to search quickly. If there are any traces of abnormal contained objects anywhere, report them to him immediately. He previously wanted to collect the creepy old man's slime. However, any material will be easily corroded by it, and not even a drop is collected. This made him very unhappy. Suddenly, one of his men called him. The voice was very excited. General Ross. We dug out a huge amount of coffin from the ground. It completely matches the information on the light curtain. This must be an abnormal containment object. Ross was ecstatic. Report to me immediately. Also, bring Abomination. We must take down this Abel. Oh. Lu Yi looked at the picture in his mind and smiled slightly. It seems that the fun is about to begin. I'm really curious about who will win in the battle between Abomination and Abel. On the light screen, the subtitles were updated again. Abnormal contained object 0762 occasionally resurrects. Subsequently, he will leave the anomaly containment object 0761 and fell into a trance, looking for the nearest human being. Close black lens bracket. After contacting humans, abnormal contained object 0762 will enter a violent state until it kills the opponent. Close black lens bracket. Abnormal containment object 0762 possesses the strength and speed of Superman, although it is not indestructible. Close black lens bracket. Its most unusual ability is the ability to materialize bladed weapons out of thin air. Close black lens bracket. Abnormal containment object 0762 if it dies, the remains will quickly decay into dust. Close black lens bracket. Subsequently, it will be reorganized in abnormal containment object 0761. Currently, attempts to destroy abnormal containment object 0721 have ended in failure. What the hell, what do you mean? Basically you can't be killed, and you can be resurrected indefinitely. He was resurrected in that coffin, right? And the coffin can't be destroyed. Doesn't that mean that the Earth will suffer disaster every once in a while? This reminds me of Joe Da. I think at least he's not a domineering person. A shy person is really desperate. This Abel can at least be beaten to death. It's better to be a shy person. This thing will come back to life. Who can stand it over and over again? Shy people are no threat if they are locked up. Shield. Nick hurriedly asked Lu Yi, how is it? Is this thing a high threat? Is there any way to eliminate it? Lu Yi pretended to think for a moment. According to the limited information of the Foundation, his physical fitness is comparable to Hulk, and his ability to change weapons is extremely terrifying. What would happen if it appeared in the center of the city? Natasha Romanoff frowned. Oh, it's very simple. The moment Abel appears, he will start to massacre and will not stop until he dies. So, you can start praying. Lu Yi couldn't help but think back. After he took in the scary old man. The reward obtained is abnormal containment object 073 Cain. That is, Abel's brother. Cain's abnormal effect is that he is extremely tough and can rebound all attacks. Coincidentally, the person who took stock after the scary old man was Abel. If Lu Yi lets these two enemies meet, I don't know what interesting things will happen. Stark Tower. Tony is welding a bulky steel armor. This is the Mark generation. After escaping from death in the Middle East, Tony did not give up the idea of making a armor. But it took practice. Even characters from the Bible are here. Tony muttered to himself as he worked. It seems that it is still necessary to make a battle armor. Kamar Taj. The Ancient One was thoughtful. The previous Sorcerer Supreme once said that the characters in the Bible all exist on the earth. They are ancient, mysterious and powerful. I didn't expect that we can see them today. If Abel exists, then his brother Cain must exist. If these two people meet, I don't know what will happen. In Bible stories, Cain and Abel were the children of Adam and Eve. Cain was jealous of Abel and brutally killed him. In the secret room, Caecilius' eyes radiated fanaticism. Abel actually exists. He knew that anyone who had anything to do with mythology was very powerful. He didn't want to wait any longer. This is his chance. This Abel is full of anger, and black magic will surely bewitch him. In this way, Abel will also become a loyal believer of Dormammu. The end of the Ancient One has come. Kill her and Dormammu will come. When the time comes, the Foundation will definitely not be able to stop it. Think of this. Caecilius stroked the sling ring in his hand. When the light curtain shows Abel's position, he and his men will take action. In the light curtain, the picture began to play. In the desert, next to a giant sarcophagus about 8 meters long, several soldiers were trying to unlock it. It seems that they have been trying for a long time. No, General, these locks can't be opened at all. A soldier reported to Ross helplessly. At the moment Ross is hiding in a tank in the distance. Can't open it. Then use a gun. Ross looked very impatient and fanatical. Under his command, the soldiers began shooting at the locks. The dense bullets were fired as if they were free. It jingled against the lock. But the soldiers had run out of bullets. The locks still don't have a scratch on them. Rose's teeth chattered loudly. Blast me with a cannon. Shield. Nick looked at this scene and shouted in horror, Rose is a madman. What is he doing? He immediately grabbed the communicator and called Ross. Natasha Romanoff looked at Lu Yi eagerly. They shouldn't be able to open this sarcophagus, right? Maybe. It seems that all organizations are very interested in these anomalies. But, can they really grasp it? Lu Yi sneered. Natasha Romanoff bit her lip. This sarcophagus is in the desert. Even if the contents inside are released, it shouldn't cause too many casualties, right? Oh, for Abel, it doesn't take long for him to run from the desert to the city. If he wants to, it will be very easy for him to run to this spaceship. Hearing this, Natasha Romanoff secretly shuddered. Louis secretly controlled the camera. Natasha Romanoff, you'd better hope that those people can't open the sarcophagus. Nick on the side couldn't get through Rose's call at all. The agent team is dispatched immediately. Head to the desert. Round after round of explosions bombarded the sarcophagus. Wait until the smoke clears. The sarcophagus was unscathed. Those locks were still not opened. Keep bombing me. Use rockets, tanks, and mortars. I don't believe it, this thing can't be opened. Ross roared. Another round of artillery fire roared. However, after the smoke and dust dispersed, it still had no effect. Ross almost clenched his fists. What on earth is going on? Does this thing come from an alien planet? At this time, I don't know if it was because of the violent gunfire that the people in the sarcophagus were awakened. The sarcophagus suddenly began to tremble violently. The soldiers on the side were so frightened that they ran away. Rose stood up suddenly, his eyes full of excitement. It finally worked. Come on, let me see what you are. All the locks popped open with a bang. The lid of the sarcophagus slowly opened. After a while, the smoke cleared. A tall and slender figure slowly appeared. A man with olive skin and obscure and mysterious tattoos all over his body appeared in front of everyone. Ha, he sighed. It showed up, it's Abel. He's so handsome. Is this the Abel in the Bible? It's completely different from what I imagined. It feels full of evil. The light curtain says that Abel is not indestructible, so these troops might really be able to kill him. It's impossible. The light screen also said that Abel has super strength and super speed. And he can also create blades out of thin air. I laughed. Can the blade be compared with machine guns and cannons? Just wait and see, Abel will definitely be the first anomaly to instantly trend. Shield. You bastard Ross. Seeing Abel really running out, Nick almost turned into a white man with fright. Louis, can the army's firepower be able to deal with him? Louis pretended to think for a while. I'm afraid not. Their firepower is still too small. If SHIELD's support can arrive in time, maybe it can. Louis seemed to have thought of something. Isn't there a monster called Abomination in Ross? It might be able to deal with Abel. That abomination that almost destroyed a city. Nick was stunned. Oh, let's forget it, Rose doesn't really want to do that. Abel gasped. His eyes were full of coldness. He was filled with confusion. He scanned his surroundings. He saw dozens of soldiers pointing guns at him. He had been asleep for a long time and had no idea what those guns were. He walked towards the nearest soldier. Abel is nearly 2 meters tall and feels very oppressive. The soldier trembled all over. Hey, don't come over. He subconsciously pulled the trigger. Boom. Abel waved his arms instantly. In one fell swoop, he caught the shot bullet. Under the fearful eyes of the soldiers, Abel carefully observed the bullet. Then he threw it aside. His eyes were filled with anger. Rose's eyes were full of enthusiasm, and his voice trembled. It can even catch bullets. What a powerful creature. Abel rushed forward instantly. The speed was so fast that the soldier didn't react at all. He grabbed the soldier's neck and lifted him up. Asshole. His voice was very low, like the whisper of an ancient god. Suddenly, he seemed to be hit by an electric current. Instantly his eyes widened with anger. The grief and anger from the past all flooded into his mind. He roared. In an instant, the soldier's head was pulled out alive. Blood gushes out like a fountain. The sky seemed to rain blood. The soldiers around were frightened. Ignoring Ross's orders, he fired without permission. The bullet hit Abel's body. Can only cause scratches. Abel endured a hail of bullets, tearing the soldiers in half one after another. The battlefield was dyed red with blood, like a sea of red. At the moment, a soldier raised a rocket launcher. It was launched towards Abel. Abel caught it immediately. Gave it back to him. A violent explosion sounded. The resulting shockwave nearly overturned the tank Ross was riding in. Ross realized something was wrong. If this continues, he might also suffer. It seems that the only option is to release hatred. He didn't want to do that because Abomination was a flawed work. He often loses control, like when he fought Hulk. Rose pressed a red button. Rear. The abomination in the darkness opened its eyes. He roared. In an instant, the iron door where he was imprisoned was opened. He saw Abel, who was going on a killing spree. A terrifying smile appeared. Ah, a powerful opponent. Under the light curtain, Abomination's identity was immediately recognized. Isn't this monster abominable? I thought he was dead. Is this the monster that almost destroyed New York? Even Hulk was almost killed by him at that time. Is he going to fight Abel? I'm actually looking forward to it. I feel like Abel will win. He is a character in the Bible after all. I'm looking for Abomination. I used to attack the containment objects with artillery fire, but this time it's different. Abomination almost killed Hulk. Shield. He really unleashed his hatred. Nick's voice trembled. It's hard to deal with one monster, but here comes another one. Now it's hard to deal with. Isn't this a good thing, Director? If they both lose, Shield can take them in before the Foundation does. Lu Yi said calmly. Containing that kind of thing. Nick couldn't even imagine it. The scary old man left a deep shadow on Nick. It was hard for him to have any illusions about the containment animals anymore. In the light curtain, Abomination charged forward greedily. Crash all the cars and tanks on the road. Go straight to Abel. Abel also noticed the abhorrence. He immediately stopped killing. The size of the Abomination is 3 times bigger than Abel. The ground seemed to tremble with every step he took. Hatred rushed towards Abel. Abel was not ambiguous either. A punch hit Abomination's abdomen. Abomination suddenly felt a sharp pain. It was as if high-voltage electricity surged into his body. Then, his eyes became green and bloodshot. Green blood spurted out of his mouth. He flew backwards for more than 10 meters and finally fell heavily to the ground. Abomination tried to get up. However, he couldn't move at all. Like a lifeless corpse. Under the light curtain, everyone was shocked. No, it's over with one punch. Is this the power of abnormal containment objects? It's simply a dimensionality reduction strike. My God. As expected of Abel, Nick secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At least, there's only one monster left. When the Shield people arrive, they might be able to deal with Abel. It seems that the Foundation does not need to take action this time. Loki and Thor sensed something unusual here very early. They both arrived long ago. At this moment, he is watching the battle from a distance. Thor, is this human, called Abel? I heard my father say that he is one of the gods of Midgard, and he is indeed very powerful. The gods of Midgard. Loki smiled disdainfully. They are just stronger monkeys. This is rude, Loki. We should respect other civilizations. Thor said dissatisfiedly. He watched Abel slowly walk towards the fallen Abomination. It seems that my mount has not been found yet. I can't ride the gods of Midgard back to Asgard. Don't worry, Thor. Loki smiled meaningfully. There are still many storage items in the back. You will definitely be able to find a mount that satisfies you. Ross frowned deeply as he looked at Abomination, who was lying on the ground, and said, I didn't expect that this Abel was so powerful. He could injure Abomination like this with just one punch. It seems that Abomination has to use that form. Since his defeat to Hulk, I have transformed him. However, Abomination in that form will completely lose his mind. Ross thought. At the same time, Abomination suddenly opened his eyes. Blue light surged from it. He roared and stood up. The body began to expand rapidly. His muscles tore through the skin due to the expansion, exposing blue-green flesh. His bones began to crack. Huge and sharp bones are constantly pouring out of his fists, head, joints and back. Abomination has completely transformed into a monster. There was only killing in his eyes now. He roared angrily and rushed towards Abel. Abel faced him without any fear. The two fists met. There was a bang. The air buzzed. The sand and dust were blown away like a tsunami. The two began to fight. Soon, Abel's face was bombarded until his bones were exposed. The jaw of hatred was also completely shattered. Abomination roared. The fist was like a meteor hammer, blowing from bottom to top, knocking Abel away. Abel flew more than 10 meters in the air. Lands smoothly. He held out his hand. It seems to be grabbing something. I saw a huge amount of sickle being pulled out of the void by Abel. Abel holds his scythe like a death god, unafraid in the face of the oncoming Abomination. Hatred punched out. Abel ducked out of the way. The sickle struck down. In an instant, the abominable arm was cut off. Blood gushed out from the hated severed limb, and he roared in pain. The other hand tried to grab Abel's arm. Abel stepped aside and drove the sickle into Abomination's chest. Hate howled. In one fell swoop, he grasped the blade of the sickle and broke it. Abel immediately reached into the void. This time, he pulled out a huge sword. The blade is replaced by serrations and rotates at high speed. With Abel's wave, the chainsword spurted sparks. He rushed towards the abomination. Chainsword slashes. The saw teeth cut through the hateful flesh with ease. Blue-green blood spurted out like a waterfall. In an instant, Abomination's right arm was also chopped off. Then, Abel leaned down and slashed horizontally. The hateful legs were neatly cut off. The hated body fell to the ground. All he could do was wail. Abel walked towards him slowly. Trampled on him. Then, he raised his chained sword and struck it down. Starting from the head of hatred, start sawing downward. In an instant, sparks, blood, and brain matter merged into one, splattering wantonly. This scene was extremely shocking. Soon, Abomination's remains were sawed in half. It's useless even if you change the form, it's still a dimensionality reduction attack. Wow, where did he get his weapons from? The chainsword is so cool. As expected of Abel, I will never underestimate any abnormal containment object again. I suddenly remembered, in the biblical story, his brother Cain killed him. I am now curious, how terrifying would the person who could kill Abel be? Aren't you scared? No one can stop Abel now. His next target is us. Foundation, come and save us. What method will the Foundation use this time? Shield. Nick's eyes were distracted and he was already stuttering in shock. What should we do next? Even hate has been beaten like this. Is he going to massacre the city next? Natasha Romanoff also stared blankly at the light screen. Is there anyone else who can stop him? Ross's soldiers had long since died in the aftermath of the battle. At the moment, he was hiding in the tank. Looking at Abel, he exclaimed sincerely, "What a beautiful creature. How powerful. It is simply invincible." Suddenly, Abel turned his head. Across the tank, he met Rose's eyes. Ross felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Abel walked toward him, his chainsword dragging along the ground and shooting out brilliant sparks. Rose was finally scared. He began to tremble. But Abel felt huge amounts of oppression, making him unable to move. Right now, Abel's surroundings. Sparks burst into the air. Then, 5 portals opened. Caecilius and his men walked out. They threw the magic chains at Abel at the same time. In an instant, Abel's body was tightly tied up with chains. He roared and struggled desperately. Huge amounts of power almost break those chains. Seeing that Caecilius and others could no longer hold on, 5 more portals opened. 5 more chains wrapped Abel almost into a rice dumpling. Caecilius shoots a fireball, knocking the chainsword out of Abel's hand. In this way, he would have no room for resistance. That's it. Quick, start the ceremony. Caecilius shouted excitedly. In the portal, several magicians ran out. They held strange books and sat around Abel. After casting the spell, a huge amount of magic circle appeared at Abel's feet. Connect him to those magicians. Suddenly, a burst of black-purple light enveloped the entire formation. Once the spell is complete, Abel would also become a disciple of Dormammu. Kamar Taj. Ancient One looked at the scene in the light curtain and sighed. She had long known of Caecilius' treachery. However, he couldn't bear it and destroyed it with his own hands. It seems that we have to take action now. Ancient One uses power to make Dormammu come faster. But, there is no other choice. She stretched out her white hand. Magical energy began to surge. Her whole body began to radiate a divine light. This is the state where she activates all the power in her body. She hadn't been like this in a long time. At the same time, the rune of Dormammu appeared on her forehead. Abel had an ominous premonition. He felt that his soul was becoming weak. He knew he had to do something. He held out his hand. From the void, several flying darts were taken out. The blade flew out quickly. It instantly hit the magicians on the head. Phew! Before the magicians could react, they were killed instantly. Blood gushed out like a fountain. Due to the interruption of the magic circle, the black and purple energy began to backfire. Boom! Huge amounts of explosions blew the bodies of the magicians to pieces. He also blew up the chains that bound Abel. Half of Abel's face was filled with smoke from the remaining magic. Only the bones are left. Half of the ribs were also exposed. Like an evil ghost, he is furious now. His hands reached into the void. Pull out 2 chainswords. The saw blade rotated rapidly, and the high temperature turned it white. He rushed towards a magician. The magician panicked and summoned a magical shield. Abel made a chop, sawing him in half with his shield. The body parts flew far away. Caecilius looked at this in disbelief. It's obviously going to succeed. Why? Just a little bit closer. Even if it takes 5 more seconds. Abel will become Dormammu's slave. Hateful. Fight back. Fight back, Caecilius yelled. The magicians threw out their chains again and tried to tie up Abel. Abel didn't flinch at all. Brandishing his sword, he rushed towards them. Countless chains swung around and were chopped into pieces by the sword. It turned into sparks and disappeared into the air. Abel cut each magician into pieces like a melon or a vegetable. No matter what spells they used, they had no effect. Fear appeared in Caecilius's eyes. He kept backing away. No, it's impossible. He didn't believe that anything in this world could be invincible. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and support my channel.